Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to MTRA Bedtime Stories. Tonight, we are going into Chapter 2 of Stay the Distance, and we're starting to learn a little bit more about Julie. Are you ready? The sky glows orange and rusty red when Dad pulls his SUV onto our street in Garden City. The 20-minute drive from the track and the ever dulcet tones of NPR always lull me into an exhausted coma by the time we hit Hempstead Turnpike. I cuddle into the passenger seat without caring how much dirt I'm rubbing into the leather, since the car is covered in dirt and permanently smells of horses. When I crack my eyes open, I find my neighborhood being terrorized by kids experiencing the rush that is the first week of summer. There are mountain bikes lying on their sides, deserted in the middle of the cul-de-sac. Owen and Mike, brothers from two houses down, have shucked the shirts off their teenage boy bodies and throw a football in the middle of the street. A toss goes wild across the Jacob family's wide lawn, the ball sailing over the SUV's nose, landing in Mrs. Cooper's award-winning front garden. The celebration spills over onto our front yard. A group of elementary schoolgirls sit in a small circle in the grass, whispering like they're hatching a nefarious plot. You never know, they could be planning to liberate Shady, our indoor cat, whom they taunt by plastering their foreheads against our ground floor windows until she comes over to investigate. Cretins, their pastel overalls don't fool me. In the neighboring driveway, Brie Wagner sits in a lawn chair, an open book cradled in her lap. Her little sister is one of the Cretans, dressed all in lavender and whispering to the girl in pink. Brie and I trade books, eyebrows quirking upward. Brie Wagner and I have known each other since we were two, when we were bonded over chalk drawings on the driveway. She doesn't entirely get the horse thing, sort of how I totally get why she knows Pride and Prejudice by heart. We were going to room together at NYU in the fall before I let all of those deadlines fly by during senior year. Because how can I have time for college when the track consumes my life? I'm surprised Bree wasn't at the race, Dad says, shocking me by speaking without being prompted. I twist away from studying the elementary school mob, unprepared to respond. Luckily, he keeps talking. Miracle of miracles. When is her move-in day? Maybe this isn't such a miracle. I swallow my tongue, tacky and dry from the track. The smell of dirt and horses seems to fill every ounce of my being, right down to my nose and saliva. It's under my fingernails and the creases of my skin. I force myself not to spit when I get out of the car after Dad parks in the cool garage. She's getting her assignment in August, I say, opening the back door and pulling out my equipment bag, hefting it up on my shoulder. It sounds like a ton of work. Did you know you have to RSVP just to check in? The madness must be intense. What's she thinking about doing it all alone? He holds the door open for me and snatches up Shady before she can dart for the open garage door. The cat mews plaintively, a sigh that the claws will soon come out, and I scurry inside. She does have parents, I say, dodging the issue and speed walking into the kitchen, making a beeline to the mail my sister has stacked on the island counter. Bills, perfect. I'll have to get those before Dad can accidentally throw them in the trash. There will be no repeats of last time. I, for one, enjoy warm showers. Dad puts Shady down and she leaps into my bag, rubbing her little black body all over it and leaving a trail of hair in her wake. Dad heads into his office off the kitchen where he normally settles in for the long haul after coming home from the track. Work has been following home from the track since Mom left. Like the more surrounded we are by horses, the less likely we'll notice this gaping hole in our lives. You know what I mean, Jules? Dad says from the office. I roll my eyes. We are such creatures of habit, and now we can't even confront each other normally. I do, I say, ripping open one of the bills. There's no sense in denying it. There's no animosity here. Dad asked the sound of the computer booting up, chiming from the office. Bree must be especially understanding because I can't say I've ever easily forgiven people who back out on their word. My fingers stall on the envelope and I suck in my cheeks until I have plenty of flesh to bite down on to keep myself from blowing up. If memory serves, he's always been easy to forgive, too easy to forgive. If you count how he's handled an AWOL wife and mother too busy with her career to recognize her family's existence. Dad's policy, as far as I can tell, has always been out of sight, out of mind, and Mom's been out of sight for a while. Sometimes I think he's forgotten she ever existed. Bree understands, I mutter at the bills. Dad grunts something unintelligible, and then he's right there in the kitchen with me, standing on the other side of the island with his hands flat on the granite. I don't look at his face, preferring to stare at his blunt fingers and the trap they're encasing them. I don't know what you're thinking, he says. You have the grades, you have the ability, and letting all those deadlines sail by you is not like you, Jules. I don't think you'll missed a deadline in your life. So I have to ask you again. This time, I would like a straight answer. I can't. I started jumping out of the gate like a panicked yearling. How do you describe your actions when you have no logical explanations? Anything I could say would sound like an excuse. And I know he'll call me out on it. He's done it enough when I've tried to cover for horses I've liked in the past, blaming myself for their physical failings in the morning, and Dad has always seen right past it. It isn't the right time, I decided to say. Why follow up school immediately with more school? Can't I have more than one measly summer before I make that decision? You had more than one summer, Dad points out. It was called high school. I shift uncomfortably, feeling the sweat drying between my shirt and my skin. I bend over to pick up Shady and my bag, hiking both onto my arms. It was my decision, I say, lifting my head in an attempt to look proud. I bungled it by holding a squirming cat to my chest. And I'm holding you to that, Dad answers, managing cool, calm, fare better. I've decided that if you're not going to do the college thing with Bree, you'll contribute around here like your sister. A scoff pops out of me before I can bring it back, and Dad steamrolls right over it. I'll offer you the same deal I offered Martina when she left school, he says. I'll put you on the payroll at the stable officially, which means more horses in the mornings, more duties, and more work, and you'll find some other job. You'll pay rent for your room, and you'll chip in for groceries. It's time to act like an adult, Jules. That's what you seem to want, so I expect I won't get any attitude about it. My mouth falls open, but I quickly snap it shut. I choose the stable, I say shortly, and turn on my heel, stomping away from him as Martina stumbles in the front door, kicking her heels off as she goes. Her office clothes are wrinkled and her long brown hair is gathered up into a wind-blown bun. I glare at her as we pass in the hallway, and she reacts in kind. What? She asks, picking up her pumps and smoothing her hair off her forehead. She's braved the subway today, and I can tell she's irritable and exhausted, and I don't care. Thanks for setting such a great precedent for me, Martina, I say to her, letting Shady down so she can dart up the stairs and away from us. You'll be thrilled to know I'm in your league now. A dawning smile curls up on her lips, and she says, I'm glad you're joining the ranks, Julie. How are you going to make rent? Are your maid services for hire? I'm working for Dad, I grumbled, dropping the bag in the hall closet and opening the front door. Wouldn't want real life to intrude too far, she calls over her shoulder on her way up the stairs. It's real enough, I say to my self stepping outside and immediately ducking when Owen's football crushes into our azaleas. Sorry, Jules, comes a yell. I pick the ball up and throw it back to him on my way to Bree's driveway. She's dragged out a second lawn chair from the garage, and I collapse into it. It's only after she turns the page in her book that she marks her place and rests it gently on the pavement. Not good, she asks. Haley's a wreck, I say, redoing my ponytail and slumping down in my seat. Mine is not the posture of the assured. She wasn't claimed, but she didn't do anything groundbreaking either. Maybe she needs a break, Bree said. Maybe y'all need a break. You guys worked so much, you're making me feel bad about taking vacation before college. If I had your work ethic, I'd taken classes over the summer. A break sounds perfect, I say, envious that Bree is going to the Outer Banks at the end of summer. However, I was just informed that if I'm not going to college this year, it's the track for me. I'm officially on Dad's payroll. You know what that means? That you need to get your applications in so you can start in spring, Bree says. I let my head fall back with a groan. Seriously, she continues, I will help you, and then we're going to the beach. You deserve it. You know I can't, I say. I'm working with the horses this summer. Bree rolls her eyes. Come on, you work with the horses every summer. You work with the horses every day, every year, and if you're not very careful, you'll work with them forever. This is the summer you need a break. I won't argue with that. So come with me, Bree insists. It's the week before I have to move into the dorms. You'll be back from you'll be back from Saratoga then, and by that point you'll deserve a rest. Maybe, I say. I want to, I do. It's just the horses, she supplies for me, knowing the reason I persist in being New York bound. The horses, I echo, nodding. Bree's acceptance of this is long-standing and legendary. One of these days, Bree said, I'm going to introduce you to the joys of normal life. I think it's too late for me, I say. Besides, I want to make sure I don't miss Mom. You don't think she's going to show up this summer, she says with a healthy dose of disbelief. The look on my face must say it all because she lets out her breath like a whine. Jules, she hasn't shown up any other summer. Why this year? She showed up in February, I reminded her. Who's to say she'd be able to ignore a whole summer of fantastic racing opportunities? Because she's got those same opportunities in California, Bree said simply. What does she need New York for? I don't answer straight away. The part of me, the part that doesn't want to let Callie go, is beginning to flutter nervously. I'm surprised by myself because after 4 years, I thought I'd be more resigned to the facts. Mom left and she's not coming back unless she has a good reason. Martina and I are not that reason, so I've got to work with what she's going to give me. I resent that about as much as her absence, and the thought makes the pit of my stomach churn. She comes back for a horse. It will be a sudden and quick, and I don't want to be in the Outer Banks at that time. I know that if she shows up, I want to miss it like I don't want to miss it, like I did last time. Jules Bree sighs. She's one of the few people I've ever talked to about Mom, so I should probably listen to her. In fact, she's the only person I talk to because Martina is never around and Dad is an expert at avoiding the topics he doesn't want to talk about. That leaves Bree, and if I ever there was a voice of reason, if ever, it was Bree. Staying for the horses is one thing, but staying for your mom? I know, I interrupted her, but she keeps going. You'd be driving yourself crazy. Don't sit around waiting for her, Bree says strongly, like she's making me promise. She made a bad decision coming back in February. Yes, in the sense that her horse didn't finish the race. I say, a ball of frustration working its way into my throat. If she had an amazing horse, she'd be back here in a heartbeat. All she does is follow horses. Maybe, Bree says, less urgently than before, but you've been obsessed with her career all year. And even though I keep pointing out how unhealthy that is, You keep getting better at it. You probably know more about her daily schedule than she does. So how could she possibly get past you? I shoot a watery smile over at her. You've got a point. Precisely, she says. So give me some hope on the vacation front. Okay, I say, my eyes are raw despite the fact that I haven't cried. I haven't cried over mom in a long time because I refuse. Maybe. I'm going to hold you to that, Bree said smartly. A football sails out of the sky and lands inches from the Cretans, scattering them with shrieks and grass stains. It makes an awkward bounce and heads right at Bree, who snatches it expertly and stands up. Owen, she shouts, throwing it back at him as he comes loping up to catch it. Stick with baseball, would you? There's a reason you never played football in high school. Come on, you two, he says with his most winning smile, sauntering up to Bree and wrapping an arm around her waist. He swings her up, twirling them into the grass. It's summer. Poorly played catch with us. Bree wiggles out of his grip, straightening her crisp white tunic and brushing her hands over her pink skinny jeans. She looks down at her ballet flats and then at my clunky riding boots. What do you think? She asks me. Want to teach these boys how to aim? I shrug. I guess. I can squeeze a lesson in, I say, standing up and darting around Owen. Stealing the football from his loose grip, Bree laughs and takes off into the street as I twist around and throw the ball arching up and falling into her hands. We go until dusk, running plays no one has ever heard of, and dashing down the street with the ball flying through the air. The boys are panting when we're done, and Bree stands triumphant in her front yard with the ball tucked under her arm. Winner and still champion, she yells, lifting the ball over her head. Owen tackles her and they fall laughing to the grass. I roll my eyes and step over them, announcing my retirement from the game. Bree shoves Owen onto his back and sits up, bits of grass in her tumbling brown hair. Remember what I said, Julie? Maybe vacation, I yell over my shoulder, waving goodbye as I walk into the house and climb the stairs. I feel a little guilty because I know there will be no time. Vacations in my family are rare events, squeezed between races. I can count them on one hand, and even those amount to only a few hours each. Shopping in Los Angeles, sinking my toes into snow white sand in Florida. They are tiny slips of memory strung around horses. I met Shady at the door to my bedroom, where she's pawing at it in a hopeless attempt to get in without my help. Shady leaps onto my bed and flops down, rolling across the unmade sheets. I pull off my boots and stalk over to my desk. When I open up my laptop, my email glows on the screen where I left it. I glance over the new message as I yank off my socks and throw them in different direction of my boots. The room is a wreck, but unlike the stable or most of the house, I feel compelled to leave it this way. The area rug on the hardwood floor is askew. Shady uses the bedding as a slide from the mattress to the floor. There are half-read books sitting in small piles on every flat surface so my bookshelves can hold all my horse figurines. The dusky blue walls look cheerful under the old photos I've hammered into the plaster. Wind photos, horse photos, pictures of Brie, and me going back ages. The frames are so old the photos stick to the glass, which I discovered the second I tried to make any changes. So things don't change. I'm more than okay with that. My eyes fall on the photo I kept next to my computer. From the frame images of me, Martina, and Mom smile wide, showing all of our teeth. I'm barely 10, and Martina is in her rangy teen phase. Almost beautiful, but angular and bony, like a yearling caught in a growth spurt. Mom's deep brown hair falls in wild waves around her shoulders, her pointed nose crinkled and sharp with her smile. She's squinting, her eyes dark slits crossing her face. Her arms fold around us, and the horse that inserts himself into the photo, one big brown head that presents itself right before the shutter snaps. The horse's dad's wiry gelding, Pluck, second place finisher in the Kentucky Derby and the best horse dad's ever had. His long neck wraps around all three of us from behind like he could keep us tethered together. The poor guy had his work cut out for him. I scroll through my email, opening up a message with the subject line, Jockey Notification Message. With a quick scroll of the mouse, my mother's name appears in big blue letters. Celia Carter. Her entries follow. June 28th, June 29th, July 1st. She's at Hollywood Park now, racing until mid-July. Then where? Del Mar and San Diego until September. Then back to Santa Ana all the way through April. It's a routine, I know as well as she does, but the problem has always been that I can't account for her spur of the moment decisions. I can't know when a trainer calls her the day before a race and asks her to ride. Even the internet can't help me with its spontaneous updates and emails. I can't know where she'll be next week. Not really. But this is the next best thing to knowing for sure. I schedule each of her rides into my phone, turning my calendar into a running log of Celia Carter's races, one by one. Tracks, times, horses, and trainers mesh together and offer a prediction of where she'll be next. If the trainer she rides for has a big horse in New York, the more likely she might show up at Belmont or Saratoga or Aqueduct unannounced. On the computer, Mom's results flash up at me like a tease, beckoning me to watch the videos. I have so many of them already saved on my computer and scratchy on barely salvageable videotape. There are stacks of DVDs in my room, all with her name, scrawled across them in different colors of Sharpie, dates and races in tiny print to keep them all straight. I hover the mouse over a 40,000 maiden claiming race, just like the one we had Callie in today. It's a race filled with expensive losers, one of which was lucky enough to have my mom on board. I click the link, and the room is filled with track noise. The announcer's crackly voice ekes out of the laptop's tiny speakers, and the screen fills the image of Hollywood Park's white and green starting gate, and the horses that file inside of it. I can't tell where she is straight away, but when the horses leap onto the track and spread out, I spot her on a giant bay, some of her long hair spilling out of her helmet and ripping like a horsetail behind her. The gelding takes the narrow path down the inside, slipping between the leader and glancing off the rail, his huge hindquarters bunching and working. Mom hunches over his withers and throws her arms up his neck, reins swing and crop flipping up into her fingers to come down in one swift slap on his darkening coat. Mom pushes harder and the gelding pins his ears, listening to her and delivering more than he's probably ever given in his life. She doesn't let him stop until she's under the wire a half a length in front. Only then does she ease up on his neck to let him know that's enough now. She pats his neck and he arches into her hold, galloping so front heavy I think only Mom's arms keeping him from toppling into the dirt. They slow and slow until they stop, and Mom sits back down in the saddle, scrubbing her fingers up and down the gelding's mane. Then the screen goes black, and I'm left with my quiet room, surrounded by her and completely alone. That ends our chapter 2. So now we know that Julie is brokenhearted and longs for her mother's attention. Hey, everybody. I'm looking forward to next chapter tomorrow night. Sleep well, stay safe, always be kind. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.